Hi, this is Susan Stone with Pawling Public Radio, and welcome to Our Town. This week on Our Town, we're going to be touring the Pawling House Bed and Breakfast at 105 West Main Street, and we're going to be talking to its innkeeper and owner, Barbara Landman. The Pawling House is a beautifully restored historic home, and I'm pretty sure it has a million stories to tell. We're going to ask Barbara to share some of those with us. The history of the Pawling House can be found in detail on its website, but briefly, its past is intertwined between three prominent families, the Campbells, Vanderburgs, and Merwins, whose stories date back to the early European settlement of the East Coast, touch on the French and Indian Wars, take us through the Revolutionary and Civil War, and figure prominently in the very early beginnings of the Pawling community itself. The last time I was here, come here. The last time I was here, we talked about some special things about this house, and one of the things that just touched my heart was this inlaid wood medallion in the center of the foyer. Talk to me about this.
Well, when we first started working on the house, the floors were all painted brown, a bit like the risers, that dark, dark brown. And so we knew we wanted to take the paint up, and as we're sanding off the paint, this beautiful wood inlay came up. And you could see the wood pattern under the paint, but once you got that paint off, you could see this beautiful piece of artwork. And if you stand up on the stairs and look down, it started going, there's an arrow. And someone walked in the door and they said, well, look, where does it point to? And this is a cubby hole, which at one time went down to the basement. Now it's closed off and used for storage, but it's a little door area. And they said they thought probably it was a way of letting people know there was a way to escape or hide into the basement without people being aware that they had come in and had entered the house.
Right, and you seem to think that there might be some connection to the Underground Railroad.
I can't document that. You know, I have no way of saying, yes, on paper it shows that happened, but those were memories of the children.
Right.
And
right. It's folklore, but what a wonderful house to include all of that. Let's go into the parlor, okay, because I would love to see that again. Oh, how cozy, how warm and inviting this is. Okay, so the fireplace is original.
Fireplace is original to the room. The windows original. We just had new windows put in to fit, but everything in this room is pretty much original. Just took a lot of plastering and fixing of where any of the molding and stuff needed to be replaced, but basically this room is all as it was in 1860.
And when you have guests here, you do tea here? Is that what you do?
Well, no, this is the common room, I say. This is a room that becomes their parlor for the time they're here. I encourage them. A lot of times I'll get guests who are visiting family here, or guests that the same family will take 2 or 3 of the rooms, so they'll just come down here. And I always encourage people to take your shoes off, put your feet up on my furniture. If you can't do that, then it's not a home.
There you go. What a great philosophy.
You know, it's got to be comfortable for people.
Now you offer breakfast in the morning to your guests,
Yes.
and that takes place in the dining room?
Right in here. This is the dining room. This is where breakfast is served in the mornings. We can comfortably have 10 to 12 guests.
Now, the one thing that I'm noticing and that I'm really admiring are all of these wonderful oak pieces. I mean, these are clearly antique pieces. Are these pieces that were here or that you brought with you?
Not here. When I looked at purchasing the house, no, this part of the house was gutted. In fact, you stood at this door and you looked from the basement to the attic. Didn't exist. So, no, there were no pieces already here. But these are all pieces that have been collected through the years just because of liking antiques. But then once I knew that I was going to open a bed and breakfast, started looking earnestly for pieces that would work.
Well, you've done a great job.
Oh, thank you.
I'm interested in walking up the stairs and looking at that window, which is so amazing.
Sure.
So let's go do that. Now, this window is original to the house, but the centerpiece of it is missing.
Correct. Right, and we're assuming that it probably looked much like this, because if you see the bars that are here, they say old leaded stained glass, that it didn't have the strength that it does now. So they would put across these brass bars, and if you can see, it's wired to it. And so where this has those brass bars across, but just a plain, the plain plate window, we're assuming there probably was a stained glass piece there that was wired to it, but not there when I bought it. So, but it makes it nice. You can look out at the beautiful stream as it runs through. So it's nice having the plain glass too.
Right, right. You've got beautiful, it's really a beautiful piece of property here. So let's go up and see the guest rooms.
Okay. We'll start with Mehetibel Wing. This is the Mehetibel Wing room. Mehetibel is a heroine of Quaker Hill, is what they call her, because she rode a horse down to New York City to save her husband from being hanged. He had been arrested for, all this information's on the back of the door so people can learn and what they're about. His wife, Mehetibel, who had 9 children, borrowed a dress from her sister, rode the horse all the way down to New York City, which I'm sure took more than an hour and a half than it does on the LI, on the railroad. And they said just kind of was relentless with the king, let my husband go, let my husband go. So finally he was like, take him and get out of here. So she basically saved her husband.
Saved his life.
Yeah. And so, and I always kind of figured this picture behind us on the wall is probably Mehetibel with her horse headed down to the city. The only thing you don't see is the 9 kids standing behind her on probably her dress tails.
So then the next room that we're going to go see is...
That's going to be the Sybil Kane room. Sybil Kane was the wife of John Kane, who's very prominent here in Pawling. The John Kane house. Well, Sybil was his wife. And John Kane, when the war broke out, he went to fight the war with the colonists, and then he changed sides, and he changed his mind. He became sympathetic with the colonists, but then he changed sides and moved to the British side, and he took his 2 eldest sons and went to fight. Well, during the time he was gone, George Washington came to Pawling and took over the John Kane house. Sybil was left there to take care of her 10 children, and she had then George and his men as house guests. And I decided she was really the innkeeper. She was the bed and breakfast lady. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, it's only appropriate that I name a room for Sybil Kane. So,
and this is it.
This is Sybil's room.
And it's beautiful.
And I found this picture, this old antique, and to me that's probably Sybil saying, George, what do you want for breakfast? But so, and then every room has its own bath.
Next room is...
We'll go on down. We will go, probably it's easier if we would go to the Campbell suite, because then the Merwin room, the history flows onto Merwin from Mr. Campbell. This is a picture of Archibald Campbell. Archibald built a home for each one of his 10 children. This home he built for Rosalinda Elizabeth. No, Catherine Rosalinda. Sorry, got to keep all my names straight. Catherine Rosalinda was his one daughter that he built this home for. And so he gets to have the suite, of course. And this is the nicer of all of our rooms. This is a king-size bed, has a sitting area. The bathroom is a jacuzzi tub, has a sit-in shower. This room we get used a lot by brides and grooms, people that come back for an anniversary, or people who have stayed here and fell in love and got married and came back. I mean, so this room I like because people take over special occasions, and that's why I like to put out the candles and, the champagne and make it cozy for them.
So then the final room, we have 4 rooms in this inn, right?
Correct.
So the final room is,
This is the Merwin room. This is William and Elizabeth Merwin. I have to read off the back of the door because he did so many things. He was the co-owner of Merwin and Holmes General Store. He was the first postmaster in Pawling. He served as treasurer as the Pawling Savings Bank. And then they say that he was a man who just had a generous heart, cared for people, and he was the one that probably did the room off the bathroom. And they were saying that the children were saying that his heart was just one that would have been very sympathetic to the Underground Railroad. So you have the room for William and Elizabeth.
so this is a new venture for you and a new life for you with your
Yes.
family up here.
Yes.
I think it's great.
So
Thank
to
you.
me.
Thank you so much for sharing this. This is
Oh,
just lovely.
As you can tell, I'm always pleased to share. Thank you.
Our pleasure. So, if you or someone you know or love needs a wonderful home away from home, this is definitely the place to come. And Barbara is definitely the person to call, and you can reach her at 845-855-3851, or you can access the Pawling House on the web at www.pawlinghouse.com.